The Cretan Empire had ruled 300 star systems for over 6,000 years. Their armada was the most feared fighting force in the known galaxy. 12,000 warships, each one bristling with plasma cannons, missile arrays, and energy shields that could absorb the firepower of a small star. They had crushed the Xylar Collective. They had enslaved the Tondori hegemony. They had turned the void between stars into a highway of tribute and terror. Admiral Vortex stood on the command deck of the Infinite Dominion, his flagship, a vessel the size of a small moon. His 4 arms were folded behind his back, his third eye scanning the holographic display that showed the spiral arm of the Milky Way. A small, unremarkable yellow sun pulsed in the center of the projection. Around it, a blue-green marble spun quietly. Earth. Double quotes. So this is the homeworld of the species that calls itself humanity, Vortex said, his voice a low rumble. His second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Xylia, clicked her mandibles in amusement. Primitive, Admiral. Our long-range scans show no energy signatures above Class D civilization levels. No FTL travel. No planetary shields. No fleet to speak of. A few crude satellites. Some nuclear weapons left over from their ancient tribal wars. They are barely a Type 1 civilization on the Kardashev scale. Vortex's third eye narrowed. And yet they refused the Emperor's tribute demand. They responded to our diplomatic envoy with, what was the exact phrase? Xylia consulted a data slate. You want our oceans and our mineral rights. Come and take them, but bring a mop, a primitive expression of defiance. The envoy was returned with all 4 of his arms broken and a message carved into his carapace. A ripple of dark laughter passed through the command deck. No one refused the Cretan Empire. No one. The last species that had tried was the Vorn, and their homeworld was now a glass desert orbited by a graveyard of broken moons. Launch the Armada, Vortex commanded. Full spread. I want every continent surrounded. We will not bombard from orbit. No, that is too merciful. We will land ground forces. We will make an example. Broadcast on all frequencies. Surrender within 1 of their hours, or the Armada will open fire. But do not accept surrender when it comes. I want to hear their screams first. The Infinite Dominion and its 12,000 sister ships dropped out of their dimension-folding warp drive exactly at the edge of Earth's gravity well. The appearance was not subtle. Space itself seemed to tear open great rips of violet light, and then the ships swam through like metal whales, breaching a dark ocean. They formed a perfect sphere around the planet, a cage of guns and armor. On Earth, it was mid-afternoon in New York, dawn in Tokyo, and dead of night in London. Every telescope, every radar station, every space agency on the planet lit up with alarms. The sky seemed to fill with stars that moved in perfect formation. And then the sky spoke. A voice, translated into every language through brute force code breaking, boomed from the ships themselves. The atmosphere vibrated. Humans of the 3rd planet. You have insulted the Cretan Empire. You have rejected the Emperor's generosity. Your world will now be reduced to ash. You have 60 of your minutes to kneel. Kneeling will not save you. It will only make your deaths quicker. Begin counting. Panic rippled across the globe. Stock markets crashed in 5 seconds. People screamed in the streets. But something else happened too. Something the Cretans had not predicted. Every military command on Earth went silent. No frantic radio chatter. No scrambled fighter jets. No emergency broadcasts begging for mercy. Just silence. And then, all at once, 7 words were broadcast from an unknown source directly into the Cretan command network. Bypassing every firewall and encryption they had, your 60 minutes started 10 years ago. Admiral Vortex froze. His third eye dilated. What? Trace that signal. His comms officer, a 6-limbed creature named Thess, worked frantically. I cannot, Admiral. The signal. It came from everywhere. From the oceans. From the moon. From the asteroids. It is embedded in their satellite network. It is even coming from our own ship's data core. It has always been here. They have been listening to us since we entered the system. Vortex felt something he had not felt in 3 centuries of conquest. Cold dread. Shields to maximum. All weapons primed. Fire a warning volley. Disable their largest city. A single cruiser, the Rapid Dusk, broke formation and fired a low-powered plasma lance toward the city that the humans called New York. The lance moved at a significant fraction of light speed. It would not destroy the city, but it would melt a crater 10 miles wide. Enough to demonstrate absolute power The lance never reached the atmosphere. 100 miles above the planet, space shimmered. It didn't tear or fold. It simply turned inside out. A grid of glowing blue lines appeared, each one no thicker than a human hair, but impossibly bright. The plasma lance hit the grid and vanished. No explosion, no flash. It was just gone, as if someone had deleted it from reality. The Rapid Dusk's captain reported, voice trembling. "Admiral, the lance did not impact. It was absorbed. And the energy signature of the grid is, I cannot measure it. It exceeds our sensors by a factor of 10,000. Vortex slammed a fist into his command console. All ships, full bombardment. Do not hold back. Every weapon we have. 12,000 ships opened fire simultaneously. Plasma, kinetic rods, antimatter missiles, gamma ray bursters. Enough firepower to crack a planet's crust and boil its oceans. The void between Earth and the Armada became a cascade of annihilation. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was absolutely useless. The blue grid expanded. It wasn't a shield. It was a membrane. And that membrane was not just stopping the attacks, it was eating them. Every missile, every beam, every projectile was absorbed into the grid and converted into something else, energy, clean, silent, terrifying energy that flowed not into space, but down to Earth. The planet began to glow. Not with fire, with light. A soft, golden light that rose from every mountain, every ocean, every city. Asterisk, then the grid spoke. Not in words, but in mathematics. A pattern of prime numbers pulsed outward. Every Cretan ship's computer translated it simultaneously. It was a targeting solution. But not for a weapon. For something far worse. The lights on Earth went out. Not a power failure. Every artificial light, every street lamp, every screen, every LED went dark at the same instant. The golden light faded. For 3 seconds, Earth was a black ball against the stars. Then the planet opened its eyes. From the Pacific Ocean, from the depths where no human submarine had ever dared to go, something rose. It was not a ship. It was not a weapon. It was a structure. A lattice of black metal and white light that unfolded like a flower made of razors. It grew and grew until it was the size of a continent, then a moon, then a small world. It did not stop. It kept expanding, pushing the Cretan Armada backward. Ships that were too slow were simply crushed. Not exploded. Not vaporized. Crushed into sheets of metal the thickness of paper. Admiral Vortek ordered a retreat. All ships, emergency fold. Get us out of here. His voice was no longer a rumble. It was a shriek. The fold drives activated. Space tore open. But the tears did not lead to safety. They led to the inside of the lattice. Every jump, every escape attempt, every emergency beacon was redirected into the same place. A pocket dimension that the humans had constructed inside the gravity well of their own sun. A prison that had no walls because it had no space. A trap that had no exit because it had no time. Vortek watched on his display as 12,000 ships vanished one by one. Not destroyed, removed. His own infinite dominion shuddered as the fold drive engaged against his will. The last image he saw before the universe turned inside out was a close-up of Earth's surface. Not cities. Not armies. Just a single road in a small town. A sign at the edge of that road read, "Welcome to Roswell, New Mexico, home of the 1947 incident." Then everything went white. When Vortek awoke, he was not on his flagship. He was in a room. A simple room with white walls, a table, and a single window showing a view of a blue sky with fluffy clouds. He tried to move his 4 arms. They were restrained, but not painfully. He tried to speak. A speaker crackled to life. "Admiral Vortek, you are in our custody. You and your entire armada have been neutralized. Do not attempt to escape. There is nowhere to escape to. We have folded the space around your holding facility into a Klein bottle. Every direction leads back here." Vortek looked at the window again. The clouds weren't moving. They were a hologram. He was not on Earth. He was not anywhere. "Who are you?" he whispered. The speaker paused. Then a human voice answered, calm and almost friendly. "You called us primitive. You called us a Type 1 civilization. You saw our satellites and our nuclear bombs and you thought that was all we had. But Admiral, we have been hiding for a very long time. You see, we are not from Earth. Earth is from us." Vortek's third eye went wide. What? For billion years ago, a war raged across this galaxy. The First War. Older than your Cretan Empire. Older than any empire. We were the ones who fought it. And we won. But the cost was terrible. We were not just powerful, we were reckless. We had technology that could unmake reality, and we used it. When the war ended, we looked at what we had done, and we felt something your kind has never learned. Shame. The voice continued, soft now. So we chose to sleep. We seeded a small, unremarkable planet with our DNA and dialed down our civilization to the bare minimum. We let evolution take its course. We watched ourselves grow from single cells to walking apes to tool users to city builders. We called ourselves humans. We forgot what we used to be. But we never lost it. The technology was always there, buried in our bones, hidden in our oceans, folded into the core of our moon. Waiting for the day we would need it again, Vortex struggled against his restraints. You let us believe you were weak. You let us send that envoy. You let us threaten you. You let us fire first. Yes, said the voice. Because we needed to know. Are you like we used to be? Cruel conquerors who take what they want. Or can you learn? The envoy we returned with broken arms. That was a test. We wanted to see your reaction. You chose violence. Every step of the way, you chose violence. So we chose to remind you why the old empires fear this part of the galaxy. The door to the room opened. A human walked in. He was not a soldier. He wore jeans, a t-shirt, and old sneakers. His face was unremarkable. He could have been a grocery store clerk or a high school teacher. He sat down across from Vortex and smiled. I'm the one who sent those 7 words, said the human. My name is Elias. I'm a systems administrator from Ohio. On paper, I work for a cloud storage company. Off paper, I'm the sentinel for this solar system. I've been watching your armada for 11 years, ever since your scout ships first entered the Oort cloud. We let you get close because we wanted to see how bad you really were. Vortex stared. You are a civilian. You defeated the Imperial Armada with no military command, no fleet, no army. Elias laughed. It was a kind laugh, almost sad. Admiral, we don't need fleets. We don't need armies. We stopped needing those things a billion years before your species learned to walk upright. The grid you saw? That's just our planetary defense system. It runs on the same power as a toaster. The lattice that ate your ships. That's a recycling program. We turned your armada into raw materials. We're going to use them to build a new hospital in Bangladesh and a desalination plant in California. Vortex felt the universe tilt. You recycled my ships? Every last bolt. Elias leaned forward. Now, here's what happens next. You are going to record a message for your emperor. You are going to tell him exactly what happened here. And then you are going to tell him that Earth is not a target. Earth is a quarantine zone. We are sleeping here. We are hiding here. And we do not like being woken up, he stood. The message will be broadcast on every frequency your empire uses. It will be followed by a small demonstration. Don't worry, we won't hurt anyone. We're just going to turn off your Empire Central Star for 5 seconds. Long enough to remind you that we can. Long enough to make the point. Vortex tried to understand. You can turn off a star. Elias looked genuinely puzzled. Why would turning off a star be hard? It's just a fusion reaction with gravity assist. We've been doing it for fun since before your planet had an atmosphere. Fireflies, we call it. We go to uninhabited systems and flick the stars on and off like light switches. It's beautiful to watch. He walked to the door, then stopped. One more thing. When the Emperor gets your message and he sends a diplomatic envoy to negotiate terms, send someone with a better attitude. And tell them to bring coffee. We're out of the good stuff. The door closed. Vortex sat alone in the white room, his third eye staring at nothing. He had conquered 300 systems. He had crushed a dozen species. He had thought himself a lord of the void. And now he was a prisoner in a Klein bottle, defeated not by a fleet or a super weapon, but by a species that had chosen to be weak because being strong was boring. He began to laugh. It was a broken sound, half sob, half wonder. He laughed for a long time. When he finally stopped, he looked at the speaker on the wall. I will record the message, he said. But I have a question first. Ask, said Elias's voice. Why coffee? There was a long pause. Then Elias's voice returned, quieter this time. Because we're human, Admiral. We once ruled the galaxy. We unwove the fabric of reality and knitted it back together. We are gods pretending to be apes. And when we wake up from our long pretend nap, the first thing we want is a warm drink and a quiet moment before we have to deal with the mess outside. Vortek nodded slowly. He understood now. The humans were not dangerous because they were powerful. They were dangerous because they had chosen to forget their power. And any species that could forget something like that could also remember it in an instant. I will tell the Emperor, Vortek said. But he will not believe me. That's fine, said Elias. We'll flick his star off and on a few times. He'll believe it then. Now, about that message. Start recording in 3, 2, 1. And in the White Room, the greatest admiral of the greatest empire in the known galaxy began to speak. His voice trembled. His arm shook. And for the first time in 6,000 years, the Cretan Empire learned what fear really meant. They learned that the quiet ones are always the most dangerous. They learned that a species that could hide for 4 billion years could destroy for 4 seconds. And they learned that Earth was not a prize to be taken. Earth was a warning. A sleeping god does not dream of mercy. It dreams of waking up. And when it does, the only sound in the universe is the soft click of a switch, followed by the sudden, absolute dark of a star that forgot how to shine. The message broadcast across the Empire 12 hours later. Every Cretan, from the lowest grub worker to the Emperor himself, watched as Admiral Vortek explained with hollow eyes how 12,000 ships had been turned into a hospital. How a man from Ohio had broken their armada. How a species that couldn't even travel between stars had trapped them in a pocket of folded space. And then, for 5 seconds, the central star of the Cretan Empire, the great blazing heart of their civilization, went dark. Not dim, not flickering. Completely, utterly, impossibly dark. The planets froze. The atmosphere began to snow. And then, exactly 5 seconds later, the star reignited as if nothing had happened. The Emperor ordered an immediate withdrawal of all military forces to defensive positions within the core systems. He declared Earth a permanent exclusion zone. He did not sleep for 3 weeks. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that star, dark, silent, waiting. On Earth, life went on. People went to work. Children went to school. No one knew what had happened. The governments of the world had been given a simple choice by Elias and his quiet network of sentinels: forget or remember. They chose to forget. The satellites showed nothing. The telescopes saw nothing. The Armada's appearance had been erased from every recording, every memory, every piece of evidence, except one. In a small town in Ohio, a man named Elias sat on his porch, drinking coffee and watching the sunset. His phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. Star flickered. Nice work. The hospital in Bangladesh is already under construction. Desalination plant next. Also, the Cretans are sending an envoy with 3 tons of coffee as tribute. What kind do you want? Elias smiled. He typed back one word, decaf. He put the phone down, took a sip of his coffee, and watched the stars come out. Somewhere out there, an empire was trembling. Somewhere out there, a god was sleeping. And somewhere out there, a star was still glowing, warm and bright, grateful for the 5 seconds of rest. Elias finished his coffee, stood up, and went inside to make dinner. He had work in the morning. The server logs weren't going to check themselves. And besides, the galaxy could wait. It had waited for billion years. It could wait a little longer. The Cretan envoy arrived 3 weeks later. They did not bring warships. They brought a single diplomatic vessel painted white. They brought the coffee. They brought a formal apology signed by the Emperor himself. And they brought a question. What do you want? The human representative was not Elias. It was a 12-year-old girl from a small village in Kenya. Her name was Amara. She had been chosen because she had asked the right question at the right time to the right person. She had asked, "Why do we hide?" The girl stood in front of the Cretan ambassador, a massive creature with 4 arms and 3 eyes, and she did not flinch. "We want to be left alone," she said. "But we also want you to stop being cruel. Your empire hurts people. We don't like that. So here is our offer. You stop conquering. You stop enslaving. You stop breaking arms. And we won't turn your star off permanently. Deal?" The ambassador looked at the girl, then at the human military advisors behind her, who were doing nothing, then at the sky, where he knew the blue grid was watching. Deal, he said, and that was how the Cretan Empire fell. Not with fire or fury, not with a grand battle or a heroic last stand, but with a cup of coffee, a folded piece of space, and a 12-year-old girl who asked a question that no one in the galaxy had thought to ask for 6,000 years. Why do we hide?